CHAT GPT. People are reporting that CHAT GPT is going to kill Google because Microsoft's going to incorporate it into Bing. Remember that thing, Bing.com? That's like the search engine that some people use. Look, this argument is a bit ridiculous to me. I think CHAT GPT is phenomenal. I think Google will come up with a competitor to it, but nonetheless, the consumer is going to win because if we have a tool like CHAT GPT that we can pay $5-10 a month for, and it could handle everything when it comes to content production, I mean, that's a game changer. That's absolutely amazing. And I'm very bullish on CHAT GPT. I'm very bullish on what natural languaging processing models around AI are going to take us into the future. The problem is the business sense for why Microsoft incorporating that into Bing as a destroyer of Google to me is not necessarily the best argument. Let's take a look at an article that says why it could disrupt something like Google. And then we'll get into a little bit of the bear case for why I think it won't disrupt something like Google. So here we go. Bing is incorporating something from OpenAI, which is ChatGPT. In 2019, Microsoft invested $1 billion into OpenAI, which, by the way, OpenAI is paying like $250 million a year for running on Azure, which is the cloud computing service that handles all the AI tasks that OpenAI does, which is the parent company of ChatGPT. So brilliant investment by Satya Nadella. I mean, absolutely phenomenal. But nonetheless, Microsoft owns an equity piece in them. So OpenAI is working towards AGI through so-called NLP models, which sort of understand human language and generate human-like text. The company's latest language model, ChatGPT, is arguably the most sophisticated and useful chatbot available to the public. You can get anything you want from it. Now, what was not public knowledge until recently is that the 2019 agreement with OpenAI allowed Microsoft to incorporate GPT features into Bing, which is Microsoft's own search engine, Bing.com. And that's significant considering OpenAI has telegraphed plans to charge for access to ChatGPT. As the information noted, which is the website that reported this, Bing might soon be the only way people can access ChatGPT, or parts of it, which is very interesting, because if Bing is the only way you get access to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT is the thing that people want to get access to, well, they're going to have to go to Bing.com, and that means there's going to be a lot more search traffic when it comes to Microsoft. A challenge to Google. It's certainly unclear how exactly Microsoft will integrate ChatGPT. Bing currently uses some features of an older version of GPT to improve search functionality, but nothing like the current AI that we have. But it seems safe to say that Google sees ChatGPT as a significant threat, potentially even an existential one. Now, why is this an existential threat? If people stop searching on Google, they're going to go to ChatGPT. I mean, it's just that simple, right? Like, or they're going to go to Bing, they're going to go somewhere else. So if people are not searching on Google and they're searching somewhere else, 90% of the mobile queries that Google gets and 80% of all online searches starts to go down to 70, 60, 50. I mean, how low can you go? Bing is a distant second, processing about 9% of worldwide desktop searches in 2022. Bing actually makes $10 billion a year off ad revenue off Microsoft. Obviously, Google makes, well, they did $70 billion last quarter. I think how much? I think like $60 billion was Google ads, or like $55 billion just off search. So Google makes a lot more money on ads when it comes to search. But if Google search is gone, that's going to be very bad for Google. Now, Google isn't necessarily racing to overhaul its search functionality with NLP. As CNBC reported, Google executives recently told staff at an all-hands meeting that the company faces high reputational risk if they implement more NLP into its search engine and it doesn't work well, which is very important. I mean, if people are using Google for one reason and you replace it with a different sort of use case and people stop using your product because they don't get the same value out of it, then, I mean, people are going to stop using your product, right? That's not going to be a good thing for Google at the end of the day. The main concern is factuality. Although language models like Lambda and ChatGPT are useful and often eerily human-like, they sometimes churn out convincing-sounding nonsense or outright falsehoods. OpenAI CEO Sam Altman said in a recent tweet about GPT, "It is a mistake to be relying on it for anything important right now." So, having said that, the question becomes, why would Google not be worried from an existential perspective on ChatGPT? And my main reason is this. First of all, let's get into the search traffic, or at least the volume of traffic that a website like Bing.com gets. 1.2 billion people use it a month. Not bad. 1.2 billion people search, find stuff important. Okay, cool. Well, let's go to something like Google, which is the number one visited website on the planet. 86.4 billion people. 86 times the level of monthly traffic that something like Bing were to get happens on Google.com. Now, why is this relevant? I think the thing that a lot of people are missing here when it comes to a search engine is that most searches are not really that important. A lot of searches that happen aren't even profitable. Again, Google makes money for advertising based underneath your search. But at the end of the day, a lot of searches that happen on Google don't need to be monetized because they're not that important. For example, yesterday I was watching a little bit of the Bernie Madoff Netflix documentary. It was playing in the background while I was doing some work because it's really hard for me to just sit and watch something. And when I was watching it, they talked about the Kennedy decline. I don't know what the Kennedy decline was. Apparently in 1962, the Dow dropped 5% in one day. It was like a big decline. So I looked it up on Google. First link, Wikipedia, read about it. I'm done. So I think this is the interesting question here. Do I need to put something into Google and then press a link of a user-generated content, from Wikipedia or some other website talking about it to get access to the information I need, which is the value proposition of using something like Google? Or do I go to Bing and ask CHAT GPT and immediately get the response without having to go to an external website? I don't think it is that important for me to search something into CHAT GPT or Microsoft's Bing, thing, or search engine based simply on convenience. Google pays $15 billion a year to be the default search engine browser on Safari, which is the Apple phone browser. Apple is the most popular phone in the world. You're using Apple, using iOS, boom, you immediately have Google search. Google is on all Android devices. Microsoft doesn't have a phone. Like Android and iOS dominate the market, and the default search engine is Google. I mean, you think about how deeply, deeply entrenched Google is into our lives. It is hard for me to imagine that even if ChatGPT is somewhat better, that it takes away 86 billion monthly visits. Now, will it take away something like, I need to create a blog for my website, and instead of Googling how do I write a blog, I just make ChatGPT write the damn blog? Like 100% it could take that away. Is that most of the world searches? No, because most of the world is not literally creating content like that. Most of the world doesn't have that much of a use case for ChatGPT outside of what they have searches on Google. The number one use case for something like Google is restaurants near me, barbershops near me, right? Like things that you need in your personal day-to-day life to get the day going. I don't know if I'm asking Microsoft Bing, find me the closest barber near me, give me their phone number, give me all their data, let me know the reviews, all that stuff. Maybe it's good enough to come up with that much of a result. And maybe Google still, by the time it gets that good, by the way, hasn't created something of their own that gives you that result just like Microsoft. But if that doesn't happen, I'm going to keep using Google. I think the fears of this are overblown. As also, it's from a monetization perspective. I don't think ChatGPT is going to be able to have ads incorporated to it. I mean, maybe if it's it, but then it's not really ChatGPT, because if you show me an ad, I mean, you're not giving me the answer. You're giving me an ad, and I don't trust you. So if you're just giving me an ad, which is just a better piece of content before I see the ad, then I'm just going to go back to using Google. So I think the lack of convenience, I think how deeply Google is entrenched in our lives, I think the fact that all phones have Google as the default engine, and I think the fact that Google is coming up with something on their own that's going to compete and be better or maybe just as comparable, even if it's slightly worse than something like ChatGPT, means that the necessitation, the urgency for people to not use Google 86 billion times a month and to use something like Bing that's only being used 1.2 billion times because it's probably the default browser on some people's websites or some people's computers, means that it is not realistic to me to imagine all that traffic going away. Now, could it pose an existential threat to Google if Google does nothing about it and it's just that much better at giving answers? Yes. But I don't think that people are searching for a direct answer as much as they are searching for a piece of content that can give them the information they need in a way that isn't intelligently created. Meaning, when I want to see a restaurant review, I want to see what people have to say. And I don't know if ChatGPT is going to be able to immediately give me those restaurant reviews with the sort of human-like emotion, or to pull from that user-generated content on indexing the web and just show it to me in one place, versus intelligently come up with some pseudo-original idea, which is more valuable. For example, like an essay or a play or a poem or something that is the real value proposition. I don't know if the real value proposition of ChatGPT is search or original ideas, original in quotation marks, because obviously it's being built by AI. And if it's not things that I need in my day-to-day life, then I'm going to continue using Google. So those are my thoughts. I don't think ChatGPT is the killer to Google. I think it'll be a very cool tool. I think Microsoft will do a good job incorporating it. But if I'm still using Google Sheets, Google Docs, Google Mail, and Chrome is my default browser, I just don't see the necessity to use something like Bing. I see the necessity to pay for something like ChatGPT. I would 100% pay for it. I don't know if I would use it on a day-to-day basis in Bing versus something like Google. So those are my thoughts. Let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching and listening, and let me know if I'm totally wrong on this or if Google has a chance to be completely disrupted. I'll see you guys in the next one.